It is a rare treat, a very, very rare treat indeed, that we get a chance to see this, the firing technique of wonderful silver jewellery being created live on the air this morning, this Tuesday morning at 8 AM if you're watching the show live. Amazing stuff. We are making jewellery, crafting jewellery ourselves, and you'll be able to as well, with over 99% purity of silver. You're looking at practically pure silver jewellery. You mould the clay, you scribe the clay, you cut the clay, you create the clay into whatever it might be, a trinket, a key ring, a pendant, a pair of earrings, a ring, a piece of jewellery in general, a keepsake. And then, using the heat-resistant brick, you fire it off. I'd love to say using a laser, but it's not. It's a butane torch using gas, and you can be firing at home in the safety and the comfort of your own home using all the techniques you're going to pick up today from Helen, who's here demonstrating for us, who's just doing the firing technique at the moment. This isn't me doing it, this is me just talking about it next to Helen. And you've got everything you need today, from a starter kit to all the scribing tools, maybe, to personalise items. And good morning, Helen. Lovely to see you again.
Yes, good morning.
It is a rare treat indeed, isn't it? It's not like we're here literally, you know, once every other day here doing this. It's a wonderful craft that anybody watching right now can get into, isn't that right?
Yes. No, it's a really lovely thing to do. So, yes, and lots of new things on the show today. So, yes, to keep everybody going.
Yeah, well said, actually, because in my head I was thinking about anyone brand new to this all. But of course, if you're returning to the show with Helen, of course, lots of brand new items to look forward to and take it further. If you've not met Helen before, Helen, give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and the items that we're going to be seeing today.
So, yes, I discovered silver clay or precious metal clay about sort of nearly 20 years ago now, and started working with it because I came from a sort of beading background, bead stringing, and thought, oh, this is great. It's able to make all these extra bits that were difficult to get in the shops at that time, like clasps and bead caps and spacer beads and things, all that pendant. And then I sort of got hooked on it. And then I started the PMC Studio about 16 years ago now. So, so we're the distributors for precious metal clay in the UK. And things have come a long way, really. Yes, that's really enjoyable.
It's a wonderful, I mean, it's still, to anybody watching who's never seen it before, it's so innovative to be able to mould this clay. And what's happening is what have we just seen you do there?
So what I've said, so basically the clay, you know, sometimes people go, where's the clay come from? Well, it isn't actually clay. So what it is they take microscopic fine particles of pure silver powder. They add a non-toxic binder on it, so that's why we've got no special extraction or anything necessary here today. And a little bit of water, so it's pliable, it's malleable, and you can't really be allergic to it, because most people that are allergic to sterling silver tend to be allergic to the alloys in it. So there's absolutely nothing in it. Yes, exactly. So it is totally safe to use, and it is nice that it has an inherent value. You know, silver never goes out of fashion. If you think we've been making jewellery for thousands of years. And somebody earlier when I was setting up was asking, oh, well, do you sell much of my work? And I say, you know what, I never sell any of my work, because you never have enough samples, you know. There's always something that you can do, or something different to make.
I mean, you can if you want, you know, you can definitely make to sell.
Absolutely.
And get a good price for it as well, because it's silver, it's pure silver, you know. Especially if you hallmark it as well. You've got the hallmarking tools that we've seen before on the show. And of course, I've just been holding up a couple of examples of what you can make with these two bags of well, examples generally of what you can make, but also these two bags of 5 grams worth of clay. 5.6 grams is the actual weight, but that will give you 5 grams of silver, won't it?
Yes, so that basically is the weight of the clay with the binder and the water. Obviously that evaporates and burns off during the firing, and then you're left with 5 grams of silver, which is a very handy guide, because we talked about hallmarking briefly. So by law, if you're going to sell your work, it's 7.78 grams that you need to mark it. But because you know, if you're using something like a whole packet here, that's only 5 grams, so you can still sell it as fine silver without having to go through the expense of having it marked. Although, of course, it is lovely to have your own mark as well.
Now, this for the hallmarking guarantee from the assay office, and there's 4, I think, in the UK, aren't there?
Yeah.
That's for 925 sterling silver. But our silver that you're making is even purer, isn't
999.
it?
Yep. So it's fine silver. Yep.
So I'm pointing at the 925 there, but 999 is the fine
highest
silver.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just up there.
Even when we're working with the clay straight out the pack, it's probably about 96% pure silver already. There's very little binder in it.
Yeah, I mean, just for inspiration, there are so many lovely pieces here of what you can make. And forgive me if you are returning and you just want to have a look at the brand new stays.
I tried to bring some difference, so yeah.
But yeah, if you've never seen Helen before, if you have watched before, then there are probably some new pieces here. So inspirational, Helen. Any favourites that you want to mention?
Oh, well, this one I thought I'd bring in today, and this is where I've set actually diamonds into it. So those are actually diamonds set into the silver clay. And, you know, again, you make all these things, and I made these years ago, and they end up in a box. And you think, oh, yes, I've still got those.
It's
and
amazing.
they're just really
but
classical.
Those are like champagne diamonds you've got.
Yes,
I
know. Yes, I did try finding. So these are a prong setting. You know, you can set them straight into the clay, but always better. And then I made the ring to go with it, which it's probably one of the most challenging pieces because it is actually layer upon layer of these little petals.
So you're putting the leaves or petals in there singly and building them up.
Yes, yes. So this is actually a quite nice example. You know, often you see things that are flat pieces, but here I just dried it into a measuring spoon. So if you've got a plastic spoon in your kitchen, the measuring spoons, which are perfectly round, and you can actually dry your piece in that as well to keep that shape. And once it keeps that shape, it stays in shape during the firing as well.
That is lovely, really nice piece. Then you've made like a hollow-looking pendant here as well.
That's my Easter egg.
Oh wow,
I do an Easter egg hunt every year. I buy loads of little, those little chocolate Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And I hide this one in there. It's the online Easter egg hunt. You're never too old for an Easter egg hunt.
No, definitely not. No.
So yes, it has got tiny little gemstones in the flowers there. So yes, but you see, this is a good example. We're going to be using the brass texture plate earlier. Now, obviously, when I made this, it was going to be a locket and had hinges on it, but it looked a bit clunky, so I took them off, put the whole thing together, and I used the brass plate on the inside, knowing that afterwards, of course, it's going to go white. Now, I wouldn't be able to get to it to polish. So you can just see that the brass plates are just really handy for adding that little bit of texture to it.
So I mean, talking about polishing then, Helen, your piece that you've just fired there is still looking a bit sort of matte
white,
and chalky.
So we talked about
these are lovely.
The white earlier. So the reason it's white, let me see now, we've just fired this. So what I do is I tend to have a bowl of water and I do quench. So anything that does not have glass or ceramics or gemstones in it can just be quenched in the water. Obviously, if you've got a gemstone in it, and we do have the fireproof gemstones, you don't want to shock them. So I've just put this in the water. The reason it's white, there's no residue on it. People say, oh, I've got to get the white powder off. It's just white because it's an uneven textured surface. And all I'm doing basically by brushing it is to smooth the surface, and that gives you that shiny effect. Now, obviously, the rubber block here doesn't help, so it's making it a little bit. I'm just cleaning the rubber block with it, really. Let me just get some.
But the rubber block is a useful piece of kit, and just raising and
as you can see, I use the hand drill a lot. It's got loads of holes in it. The
drills there. That's on the show as well. The hand drill set with all the bits and bobs.
So there you go.
Pendants.
So that's a bit easier to see, and then. For a high shine finish, you just continue with the agate burnisher, and that really brings it up. So you can see that the agate it's just a natural gemstone. It's harder than metal, so just be careful. So use it as if you're colouring in rather than just using the tip on it. Because if you scratch it, you're not going to get the scratches out. But it's a good way that to finish. But you can see that lovely shine. And also very good for the size of your pieces.
There very well might be tools that you're seeing today that you've not seen on one of Helen's shows before, or maybe if you haven't seen Helen for a little while, like the agate burnisher here. It's a brilliant piece of kit.
This is quite a new one, and it's a nice small one. We used to have the longer ones, but this is actually a really nice one. So we've only just had this in on the last show for the first time.
Okay, yeah, so those who might have missed that. It's a month or so ago when we last saw you, Helen. So we don't see Helen very often. So if there is something that you want to get hold of today, or if you want to start this craft from scratch, it's a very, very good time to do it.
Yeah, we've really fine-tuned over the last couple of years to get all those, just those tools that you need, really.
Do you know, I'm thinking that there's probably lots of people tuning back in to see you, Helen, but if you are just tuning in for the very, very first starter kit, then here's the sort of things that you'll need. You'll need the clay to get going. $22.49 gets you 2 bags of the 5 grams worth of clay. It's actually 5.6 grams because you've got the binder and the water content in there, but that gives you 10 grams worth. It's a lot in the end of the day. That's a lot of jewellery that you'll be making, a lot of trinkets, phone charms, things like that. 969340 to order, and that's from the Precious Metal Company as well, PMC. Precious Metal Clay, rather, Precious Metal PMC. 137208 is your item number to find the Butane Gas Torch and the firing block. You can buy the butane or gas to go inside that quite easily on the high street in one of those shops where things cost roughly 100 pence. 1574 it is, including postage, to get that with a Freedom membership. 137208. So you need your clay, you'll need your butane torch, and you need your firing brick. And then there's the polishing kit. That's the agate burnisher that you've just seen. That's your rubber block that just raises and focuses your piece. And then you've got your silver polishing cloth that's been infused. It's special for polishing silver. And then you've got your brush as well, the brass brush. So 813073, your item number. That's your basics if you're brand new to all of this. I'm very jealous if you're watching for the first time and this is all new. This is so cool. But if you are returning, you've got the basics. This is a new today then, Helen. Tell us about this.
Oh, I love these. I love clay shaping tools, and these are just a really great set. So you've got all the different tips to it. And when you start working with them, you think, gosh, these are so useful. And what I do is I use them wet. I just dip them in a bit of water, but it means you can, you know, take things out of your cutter when they've got a bit stuck without leaving a mark. You can join bits together. You can get into all those little fiddly bits. We're going to be using the snake roller today to make some bails. So it's great to get inside that bail to join it. They're just a super handy little tools that just last forever. And you've got every conceivable shape there.
Yeah, they're brilliant. As long as you look
supply.
after them, they'll last a long time, like you say, Helen, as well. So, you've got the tips there, the chisel tip, the angled chisel, sort of lipstick style tip as well there. So one side slanted chisel. So all of your scribing tools there, or your clay shapers, sorry, should I say, because you've got your scribing tools later. Already a quarter of the stock gone here. So just show you the regular viewers that tune in to see you on a sort of monthly
I cannot live without this. And what I really love about this silicone tip is just that you've got that right level of firmness. There's also another tip which is a bit too soft and you end up sort of wobbling all over the place. But this one is just the right sort of thickness. And it's also great when you've made a little bit of a mess out of your texture. You can actually carve things back in, inscribe it straight into your texture, or when you're joining rings. It's just endless.
Have you used them on this down here? This
I'll use them on every single piece here.
Oh, okay then. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, so it's literally in everything.
Yes, they're always in my pot. No, I've used them. I can honestly say I've used them on every single item in this show.
Okay, look at me saying, yeah, she's not lying.
Yes.
Yeah. Literally every single item then.
Yes,
So you're using these tools. So grab them, $12.99. You'll wonder how you did without them. $12.99 plus delivery to get them. Quarter of the stock gone already on those. And then the texture mats then, Helen. We've got two options here.
I practice all the texture mats, and here are some that we've got sort of on a great deal. So texture mats, you know, you get a lot of textures. Sometimes they're just a bit too light, so you don't get enough of a transfer. But these are just a really nice texture. I've used that one also for rings. So don't think, oh, I'm just going to replicate these textures. When you're doing a ring strip or something, you run it across it. And you'll see it changes time and time again, especially like Splat, which is the top one here. It's also great for enamelling later on. You'll find that you can do loads of things. I've used the leaf one, actually, to make a man's ring, and it just looks like a sort of a carved ring. It just doesn't show the actual leaf pattern itself.
Yeah, and there's this fish as well.
Yes,
there is a cutter for this fish too, but you've used one of them.
The texture mat on here is the dancing dots one. And again, it looked a bit like fish scales. If you look at that on the mat itself, you think, oh, it's a bit floral, but it actually worked quite well on the fish. So yes, and they're just at right depth because we're going to be using spacers and rollers, so you don't want to use too much clay, but you want to have enough that you get that nice depth of texture, which is exactly what these mats are all about.
Let's take us through the two sets then, because you've got two sets of three. You've got the swirl and the lace that we're looking at already, and that's the foliage on the top this way. Yeah, there you go. There's the foliage.
I use all of these, to be honest. I've probably had these mats for 10 years or so, and they just last and last. You just use them with a little bit of badger balm to do, but you don't have to wash them or dry them or do anything. Just keep them in a box in a dark place because they are rubber. But yes, as I said, it's got that lovely length that you can do big pieces with it.
And then you've got the second set of three as well. Quite handily, they've got the names on there.
Splat, which is a great one.
Exclamation mark, splat. And then that comes with two more. That comes with the dancing dots just over here, and then the vibe as well.
Yeah, they're just really fun things to do, and they go on. You know, whether you're using geometric shapes or naturals, they sort of go with everything, really. You'll be using all of them.
Use them across the crafts as well, so, you know,
you can. I suppose you can,
you know, hot glues if you want to.
Yes.
Oh, gosh, no, don't put your inks on there. No, I was thinking just moulding things.
Okay, yes.
Like
you know, polymer clay,
polymer clays.
Yes, because it's got a great texture in it,
Yeah. Now, I've got my Inky Stamps at home. You've got your Inky Stamps at home, don't you? Try and keep it pure. So 69840 to get your text messages. There are two different choices, same item number. And then next up, we've got the lovely creative kit here.
Yes, this is an updated version. So last time we did the creative kit and we had slightly different things in it. This time I thought, you know what, we'll put the snake roller in it. Again, I use the snake roller a lot for everything because, as you can see, all the coils, you can do coils, bails, loops. And the great thing about the snake roller, they are especially cut to the size of my hand. So, but they're also got beveled edges on it, so they fit really nicely. You can see exactly when you're rolling the coil, you can angle the coil. That's also the advantage of having the clear acrylic, and all made in the UK, which is nice. And then we've got a new brass plate that we've not featured on the show before, and that's just a really nice flowers in the sand, I think that one is. Yeah, and it just shows you, I use that on the back of pieces, so it saves you doing lots of sanding. You know, of course you can recycle everything, but it's just nice to have a bit of texture on that.
So there's the front of your pendant, and then just the back to give it a bit of a finish. You know, so it's not just smooth, or you're stuck there for
and it doesn't add to extra clay, so you don't have to calculate the extra clay in when you're rolling out.
Of course. So you're getting everything here. You're getting your mat as well, $24.99 plus delivery to order, and you can get it on the phone or the web, 181661 to order now. We've got cutters, we've got scribing tools as well when you're personalising things, adding lettering. But have a look at the website for literally everything on hochanda.com. You'll be able to see on there your moulds, your scribing tools, your hallmarking punch as well. That's so cool to get that, because you're making pure silver, or practically pure silver, 999 purity. So you can get your hallmarking punch. I know how busy that's been on previous shows. Then you've got your Butane Gas Torch as well. You'll need to fill that yourself, so buy your gas on the high street somewhere, because obviously that's not going to come through the post, is it? What's in the envelope? Gas. No, it's not going to be posted to you. You'll buy the gas to put inside the torch. And you've got your clay as well, your silver clay. You can buy the big bag if you want. I'll keep you going for a long time, 16 grams worth, but you could get the 2 bags of 5 grams worth as well. So high value clay that, because it is of course pure silver that you're making. Helen, you've got some clay ready to go.
Yes, and I've just put some of this the badger balm, which is in one of the other kits, on my hands. So the badger balm, it's an olive oil based cream, but forget you're mixing something into the clay. So you want to, anything that you're going to use, you want to make sure that it's not going to affect the firing during the clay. So you're going to mix it in. You don't want your bits to fall apart. Obviously, so don't use anything like Vaseline or anything like that at all.
No. But this is in your extra kit. It's the essentials kit, I think we called it.
Yeah, that's really good. And I've just got this clay out the pack. Now, anybody watched last show? So I did the show a month ago. So this clay has been in this packet since the last show. This was my demo clay from the last show, and it is still perfect.
Oh, that's nice to
And I haven't done anything else to it. But normally, I would recommend maybe put a little bit of damp kitchen foil in it.
Right, yeah.
And then today we've got
kitchen roll, would you do a damp kitchen roll?
Yeah, sorry. Yes,
no, just to check. I'm not being pedantic, but yeah, damp kitchen roll or
it's
something. Wet.
Yeah, it's a bit of wet tissue or something, or sponge. So
did you have it wrapped in a little bit of plastic?
Yeah, so it comes. The clay comes into here.
So
normally I would just put a little bit of water in it and just wrap it in. And that's the great thing about these pouches. They are fully resealable. Mitsubishi spend a lot of money on these pouches. You know, they cost several pounds each to produce.
Right.
So, but it means that you can always keep your clay in here. You don't need to buy any special pot or rehydration equipment. Just keep your clay in, and that just proves it. To be honest,
great design. Peel it off there and then reseal it. Nice.
Yeah. And you just keep things in it. So today we've got this new little mould, the Celebrations ones, and it's got lots of little patterns on it. Now, here I've done one which was a different one, which was the hat, for instance.
That's
so
lovely,
you've got, you know, got Easter bonnets coming up, but you know, you can also use these as little creative elements. So, for instance, when the brooches that we've done earlier, which are about somewhere, you can just make the little flowers on it, or you can add it as a bit of interest to another piece. So don't think of, I'm going to actually replicate that as such.
Yeah, you're then piecing something together. You're taking elements and piecing them
like
together.
the shoes or something. So the first time you're going to use, because these are quite new, I don't use badger balm on them anymore because I've used them so much. But to start off with, the first couple of times, just put a little bit of badger balm in. And the thing that you're going to do,
we put our clay back, didn't we?
Work our way into the packet.
We did have it out ready to go.
I know, it doesn't look so. So you're going to, so now you always use far less clay than you think to do. As I said, when I take my clay out the pack, I use it in the palms of my hands. It gets rid of all the little creases in it. And then you're going to put it into the mould, and you're literally going to press it around the mould. So you move it around. But as you can see, I'm underfilling the mould. Rather than putting more clay in it and then having to cut off the excess, this way you also get the right amount of clay and you get a nice smooth back on it. So keep the clay within there. And how much you put into the mould determines how chunky the piece is. So for instance, this is a pendant I would make on its own. As you can see, lovely detail on that. It's stunning. So this one I could do with my other little Easter bonnet. I could just drill a little hole into it, and that would make a little pendant.
Yeah.
That, for instance, you could just take the rose, add the rose onto it. You could put a little flower on the Easter bonnet. Or you can just, I'm just going to use another bit. So if I use the little flower, you could, by amount of clay that you put into the mould, you get different size flowers, if you see what I mean. So some will be much thinner, and they will look very differently. See if I can quickly demo it. So here, I've barely put half the clay in it. You should probably find it's about half a gram of clay.
But you've got away with it though, so you've made a very delicate flower,
so
but you've still got the detail from the front
gorgeous
as well.
detail there.
Yeah, so that's a really good tip. Do not overfill that mould.
No.
Unless you desperately want to or need to for a chunky piece. You know, less is definitely more in this case.
So here I've done another one, but you see...
So you've put quite a lot in there now, haven't you?
So you see, this one's got more clay in it, but that means you can create different depths and textures using exactly the same mould and a different effect. So you could join these together if you wanted to do a clip or something, just using the same mould.
Oh, that's lovely to get two, and then you've got like a hair clip or something.
You know what? They make lovely little stud earrings, wouldn't they?
Oh, they
very
would. Perfect,
cute.
perfect sort of size. Yeah, so,
lovely.
So make a post and fuse the post on.
Yes, or you could just, you know, today now you can get those ready-made earring backs, you know, and you can just put them straight on. To be honest,
that's a really good idea. So yeah, you just glue that on or fix that on somehow.
Or even, you know, if you're going to make a little ring, it'd make a cute little ring top. You know, it's really versatile. What you can not the best model hands, but
stop it, Helen. Yeah, it's softer than mine. Mine are a bit cracked. But,
I know. I think everybody's been mowing the lawn at the weekend, isn't it? It's like good weather, quick, get out there.
Exactly. This is a really good mould, actually. Really good. I mean, it just in terms of the number of elements in there, and being able to get everything out easily.
The good thing that you're looking for a mould is that you've got enough detail on it. The items are quite small, so you're actually using very little clay. So you could even do the little dress. And I had somebody who made the little dress, and she used a syringe and made a little coat hanger.
Oh.
And that made a really cute pendant.
Yeah.
So it goes a long way. So literally you press the clay in, take it straight out. If you don't like it, use it again. But yes, I think you're going to get a lot of use out of that.
No, you would do. Lots of elements. You can start to collage and build pieces.
Yeah, I love little teacups.
Yeah,
I do a little
definitely.
teacup.
Definitely. It's a really nice mould, this, with the different imagery that you've got in it and the usability. Lovely and flexible, so easy to get in and out. Over a quarter of the stock gone, though, because it is a popular one. We don't see Helen often enough in many ways, so we're not seeing you for another 2 months, I think,
Yeah,
after
that's
this.
true.
So,
Yeah, there won't be.
yeah.
This one won't be there then.
Yeah.
That's just literally.
So for sure, to grab hold of it,
I'll have to think of something else.
It's $14.99 plus delivery to order. It's 950524
Oh,
to
so
order.
here's a
And
little
Helen, you always like
teacup.
to bring in new things as
I
well.
do,
so
I do.
grab the mould while we've got it
Oh, look,
today.
that's lovely. Isn't that little
Oh,
teacup?
yeah.
It's just so gorgeous.
I can't get over the detail.
The detail is phenomenal, yes.
But the detail of the mould and the detail that you can get across using
this
the
clay
clay.
picks it up really, really well. And with the flex, it's so versatile. But yeah, the detail, I
Let me.
think the camera's picked it up
Just,
quite well. Yeah,
I'm going to spin that round. Just so that you got it. I
you
know
can
if
see
I
the
was watching
size.
at
That's
home.
1 centimetre.
There we
so,
go.
Yeah,
Oh, so you've got your mat as well, haven't you? So you
Yeah.
can measure. But there we go. There's our little teacup.
Very cute.
It's really cute. I still can't get over the detail on that mould, honestly. What you're getting from the mould, but also the quality of the clay, in the sense that that detail will then transpose into the silver.
There are other base metal clays, but you don't get that detail. You don't.
This
So
is silver clay. This is real silver, by the way. If you're watching, thinking, what's going on here? It's a binder. It's a little bit of water content in there to help it be mouldable, and you're getting clay, which is going to then become silver. For example, I love. Can I show you these earrings again? I'm sorry to show you the same thing again and again, but we have already seen them at the start. But these are amazing with precious real diamonds. Like you might want to call them cognac diamonds, champagne diamonds, natural yellow diamonds. In there, amazing quality of jewellery. So they've been claw set. You could bezel set them if you want to, or press them into the silver.
Or you can now the gemstones that we have. You can just press them straight into the silver, and you can torch fire them as well. So,
because you've got heat resistant stones that you can add to your order today. But there's lovely silver work on those, and that's thanks to the clay. Did you say that you can buy settings and posts, but are they silver then?
Those are just actually that's soldered on. Those are hooks.
But, they are. Okay,
But there's lots of earring wires and things, and you can just attach things with the jump ring.
Yeah. May I? Is that no? Pierced it.
I don't know. No, but it's
right.
There's so many findings now. It's really much easier now recently.
Yeah.
So so we'll just go on the brass plate.
Oh yeah, this is available on the show as well.
So this is the brass plate that we've got. Again, use a little bit of badger balm for the release agent on it. Now what I've done is, while we've been talking, is I've put a little bit of water in the lid of my badger balm. So this is a really handy tip, just to keep the clay from drying out. So that's quite handy. So I'm going to put the clay on the brass plate. And then we've got
your spaces.
Yeah, it's my space. So remember to put spaces on the brass plate, not next to it. Everybody makes that mistake, and you think, why is my clay so thin? So yes, take it down to there.
Oh yes, because they are, the depth of those is specific.
Yeah. So there we go. I'm just going to roll them out, and then you just roll it to the shape of the cutter. So here we've got our lovely
these smaller ones.
Triangle cutters. And what I did for the demo for the beady-eyed people is that you can also cut these down and make bales and things out of them, so you don't not necessarily have to turn them into a triangle. So I'll just show you. I saw dancing dots on the fish, so I'm just going to use the foliage. So again, you put a little bit of badger balm on it.
Okay, now, some of the texture mats that we're using.
So you can either press down, or if you're starting out, it's probably easier just to roll down a little bit. And then you can see, so always texture first, sorry, I'm waving it about. You can see the great texture in here on the front.
Yeah.
And when you turn it over, again, you can see
you've got that
hint of texture on the back.
Yeah, just let's have a look at that there, Helen. Yes, so you've got that gentle texture on the back.
Yeah, with a sand effect.
So it covers a multitude of sins, or it can give you that option for the back that just makes the back as pretty as the front. So the brass plate gives you texture, whereas the texture matte gives you more of that
depth.
detailed
depth
texture.
So because you want the core of your piece to be 1 millimetre plus the depth of your texture on the front and the back. So this way you're using the minimal amount of clay, but you're getting the maximum depth of the texture on the front of your piece. And then you can leave it like this shape. You don't have to cut it out, or you can just, turn it into, see which bit you like. So then you take it off the brass plate onto your Teflon or your worksheet, press it down, give it a bit of a wiggle to lift it, and then here we go, just take the excess.
Cutters also available on the show. You get your 9 cutters, you get your 4 squares, 5 triangles as well from PMC. That's precious metal clay. PMC, and the price is $13.99 for your cutters.
Yeah, so let me just do another bit.
So did you say something about bails as well? So the bail is the top of your pendant where you put the chain through.
Quickly make another piece then.
Did you say about using the triangles to make bails?
Yes, you can do. So I'll just go back onto here.
Interested to see how you do that. If you want to.
Yes. So here I probably use a slightly lighter texture. So what you can do then is you can I'll probably take a slightly bigger piece. And then
all of this is rescuable and reusable, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. I don't make any paste at all. That's why I had to quickly make some this morning. So you've got this shape. And then, here we go, I've got my so you can just literally
notice how Helen put her clay underneath the lid of the badger balm as well to keep it moisture.
So see, you can just put it on this, and then you can put your piece on there. So you can make a different shape bail as such. And then you can do different combinations where you've got them overlapping each other.
Okay.
Or you've got them there where you've got 2 little squares.
Here's that one.
Joined together at the top.
Yeah, or you've got a loop on this particular one.
Yeah, I can do that. That's with the snake roller. I can do that next.
Loop that over. So there's 2 different styles of bail where you'd be putting your chain through. It's all sort of second level stuff where you're thinking, okay, I've made my pendant now. How do I wear it? Where am I going to put the chain?
Always think which way it's going to hang. So here's my trusty snake roller. So again, you're literally rolling it down. That's the great thing about this snake. You can see exactly what you're doing. When you've got to this point, you actually need very little clay. Just take the excess clay away, put it back, so that you're not overworking the clay. That's why I can keep this clay open for months.
Okay, so take away what you're not necessarily using.
Yeah, and if you think how many demo pieces I've made with this poor little abused piece of clay.
Yeah.
So here we go. So you can see exactly what it is.
You've reworked the clay, so an important point that. You've worked it, reworked it, worked it again.
Absolutely.
And it's sort of demo clay.
And then a trick is here, because this piece of clay is starting.
That rectangular thing we just used was the snake roller, as you say, as well. That's in the roller set with the spacers and the actual roller itself.
Yeah. And then what you do is you literally make a little bit wet, stops it getting caught, and then you can just hang it over your little straw and attach it to your piece. So if I was making this, I could just take my lovely clay shaper set. Now again, you've seen here, you've got all the different tips. So you can, if I'm just going to do it for
these clay shapers, you'll wonder how you lived without them.
Oh, gosh,
every piece made using these. 40% of the stock gone on the clay shapers at the moment. Details on the left-hand side, 139340, and they're $12.99 for all of your shapers. You're actually getting a selection of 5 in there, all different.
Yeah, I don't think there are any different. So you can just put this together.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then you leave the straw in place until the piece is dry, and then once the clay is dry, you can just remove it, and then you can fill and fire it. So
the clay does shrink ever so slightly, doesn't it?
It shrinks 10%.
How do I get my straw away? But once it's dry, you gently take it away.
Yeah, you can just pull this out.
Yeah.
Now, again, I did this earlier. As I said, I don't make any paste, so I had a rummage around this morning to try and find some quickly. So basically, this is all the filings and bits left over. So here I've got a dried bit that was stuck on the rim. I can put that in there with just a little bit of water, and that's what you use basically to join pieces or fill little pieces together. So, nothing is ever wasted. Yeah. So even a little blob on there can go straight in there.
So you're using your clay as a binder, as a paste, as a glue to fix things together, and it's still the silver clay and it's all working. That's why it's working.
Yeah, so nothing. So this clay is never beyond work. It's like here, this was the little fern from my garden again, where I've just put a bale onto it.
Yeah.
So this morning, my ferns in my garden weren't looking so great this morning. But so here, so that's the fern, and then all you do is literally put the paste. If you're going to make little earrings, I know my hand's looking terrible. If you're going to make little earrings, because you're going to torch fire it. So technically, we say to people, don't torch fire organics because you're going to burn off the leaf and you don't want to have a little bonfire on your kitchen table. But if you're going to do something small, technically it's possible. So you could just take a piece of this and then you just take the back of the paste and you paint the back of the leaf and you do a few coats of that. So you probably do about, I don't know, 4 coats or something, because it's not going to be a big piece. You don't need to do many. So then you'd leave it to dry and put another coat on, and then when you torch fire it, the leaf burns away, and that becomes the front of it.
It's amazing. Oh, Helen, thank you so much for everything you've shown us so far. This is absolutely superb. It just shows you can use your moulds that you're getting today, you can use your texture mats, you can use your own imagination, you can use your personalisation using scribing tools, you can use bits from the garden and the home as well. We love it. Details are on your screen at the moment. You get your spacer, so this is the brass plate to add your texture. You've got your mat, you've got your actual roller with your spacers, and your snake roller, which is the rectangular piece there. That's 181661 to order that set today. 181661. The mould is really nice, but it's limited stock. So when Helen brings nice things like this on a show, it's the time to get it. It's not like, oh, did you get this last month when she was? No, this is it. This is your chance to get it now on the mould, and we won't necessarily be here with it in a couple of months' time. So do grab that now. It's limited stock. If you're new, you've got the Essentials set, and the Essentials set comes with your mat there. With your mat, you've got the angles and the grids that you can see the different sizes and shapes you're making. You've got your Teflon mat, as well as your Badger Balm as well. And then you've got your sandpaper for just smoothing off, and then your brush as well. And you've got that shaper. So it's one shaper tool and one brush. So it's a good little set that for, you saw Helen there using the paste that she'd made. So just a watery clay. And that's when you'd get your brush and you'd just paint on and fuse pieces together as well. It's inspirational, isn't it? And it's funny hearing Helen. What struck you about Helen? There's lots that Helen said today, but there's one thing that stuck with me, and it might be the same thing as you're thinking of, but it was when Helen said, people ask me this morning, and they ask me regularly, do I sell my pieces? And she said, no, I've never sold a piece. I just couldn't bring myself to. Making samples, making gifts for people is what Helen's all about. But does that stop you from making to sell? Potentially not. And you'd be amazed sometimes at what people will pay you for silver jewellery. It's a high value thing that you're buying in the first place anyway, in the clay. It's $22.49 for 10 grams worth of silver that you're getting, which is very good value to consider. 10 grams of silver for $22.49. It's amazing. 969340. And then you can get the bigger bag. That's 16 grams worth of silver, and the 0.7 is the fact that it's got the water content and binder in there before you make it, but it'll make 16 grams of silver for $31.99. But imagine making something using texture of something at home. So a tree that you absolutely love, it might just be a teeny tiny impression from the bark of that tree, but it's enough to know that you've taken an impression of that tree bark and you've made it into a silver piece of jewellery. Or a favourite tree, maybe a leaf from a favourite tree, potentially. Or just something that you're looking at home and thinking, do you know what, I really like the feel of that, the texture of that. And you're making something to absolutely keep. What do we all watch usually on a Sunday afternoon when we're not watching Hochanda? It's a very popular antiques programme on a main channel on the telly. And we see things on there made from silver, and they get their little eyeglasses out and they look at the hallmark. And you're looking at pieces that were made, you know, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago and more. So when you're making something from your silver clay, you are making something for literally, potentially centuries of enjoyment and down the line and remembrance. And anything that you want to save, upcycle, rescue, make as a centerpiece, all those things you don't quite know what to do with, you can build into this sort of a hobby and real creative pastime as well. You know, a hobby's a wonderful thing and it's a great word, but yeah, so much more than that. You know, when you're making something for many centuries of enjoyment, making something for a gift or a special occasion for somebody. And the thing is, anyone can do it. You can do it, I can do it, Helen can do it as well. If you want to hallmark something, what you're making is you're making pure silver jewellery here, or pure silver charms or trinkets, and this will stamp it with a 999, and that's because it's 99.9% pure silver. If you're buying Britannia silver in a shop, you'll notice it says 950 on it, and if you're buying sterling silver in a shop or a beautiful market, you'll look at the hallmark and it will say 925 because it's 92.5% pure. You're making 99.9% pure silver using your clay. So, Helen, what do we have here in this set? 'Cause I think this is another new today, isn't it? With the
I think I've touched on it before because we did the fingerprinting before. So these are a ball styler set, and I know I was doing the description for the show. Now, technically, we call them the inscribing tools because you can inscribe your name in it or a date. And the great thing about all of the PMC that we've got on the show is that once the PMC is dry, you can write on it with pencil. So you can write the name or the date, so you can have that practice. You're not going straight into the wet clay, and then you just carve over it. Now, as you can see, they've got little ball ends on the end of it. So what you're doing is the PMC is very clever in that it has a bit of cushioning effect. So what you're doing is you're pressing into the clay rather than scratching into the clay, which gives you a really nice written finish. But I find, again, it's a bit like the clay shaper. Once you've got them, you can make little dimples into things. You can, join things together. They're just a really handy little tool set. So there, it's quite a fine line. And then the other one is, there's another one there.
There's
with
a
Catherine, that's my daughter. Yes. It's poor kids that have to use them up for. So so that's quite nice. So it just makes something. The great thing about PMC is that you can make really, truly personal items. Even if I made the same thing again, it's never quite the same. It's like you were saying earlier, I never sell my work. Sometimes my mum, I made a little frog ring and it was so cute. And my mum, of course, has got the same size thing. She goes, oh, I'll have that ring. So I thought, oh, gosh, I'll have to, I never really give much away. So I had to make another one. And it wasn't the same. And it was the same mould and it was the same ring and it was the same pattern. But
so it truly is. Before you even personalise it, for real, personalise it with the words or letters or a date. It literally is personal, whatever it might be.
It is, yes, absolutely.
Love them. Look, I think to us, this is a new configuration or whatever it might be. We've touched on this before with scribing and with fingerprinting and everything, but this configuration here, brand new today, apparently for $12.99 plus delivery, and you're getting all 4 tools, and it's 438680 to order now. We also have our cutters, and this is the triangles and the squares as well. Reminds me of my daughter's Key Stage 1 thing that she was looking at, and I got a couple of the questions wrong last night. It was unbelievable. So I was just looking in the wrong place on the sheet. I was just looking at, it's not my fault, it's the people that set the exam. 292935 is your item number. So if you want to get that lovely collection of hexagons, triangles and squares, then go for it. You've got your daisy cutters as well, and when you're dealing with something this detailed, they're so lovely. Imagine shaping shaping the clay once you've cut them in this shape. It's lovely to get the curves. 844-905, and they're £4 off. Oh, and you cheeky, you've already found the brooch making kit. You can make 2 brooches with this, and that's £5.91 off. It's a special price, £14.99. You'll be able to make 2 brooches using that set, 147606. And the thing is, with that brooch making kit, you know, you can take elements from this or any mould, can't you, and start to place them along. Have you got one, actually?
Where have we put them?
Yeah, I could see you looking for something there, Helen. We've put, well, I did see a brooch this morning. Don't know what we've done with it.
Here they are.
We've seen some. Have you got one? Oh, they're on the very end. Do you know where we were having that chat just now? I thought I'd seen them.
Sorry, it's probably not very good for the camera.
No, it's good. It's good.
So here, I used the owl, and then there was another brooch I made.
It's really heavyweight. It's really cool.
And then here, see, these are all separate little elements. Actually, that might be the flower from the actual mould, actually. So you can see all the little leaves and things joined together.
Yeah.
So those leaves on the owl are from the foliage mat. I just cut them out. It just shows you don't actually have to take that pattern.
So that is not even a mould, it's a mat?
No, it's all little components. Yeah, so there are 2 little bits of the moulded leaves, and then the owl, and then the gemstones are separate settings. Yeah, you see?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And then you've got this as well, this mould, you might make elements and put them on your brooches.
Yeah, like
just show
flower.
your brooch from the back, that's what they look like. So you'll be making 2 brooches.
Yeah.
With the brooch making kit for £14.99. It's on a good price today. Special price saving £5.91. So 147606. So we've got about 12 minutes left, Helen. Is that
right?
Okay with you?
Okay. So yes, I wanted to say about the cutters. Everybody thinks, oh, the cutters are quite big. I'm going to be using a lot of clay. But don't forget, when you get the whole set, if you go 1 down, or 2 down in this case, you can roll out the clay. So you take your big pack of clay, roll it out, so you get the rolling distance, and then you can cut the centre out. And then, of course, then if you've got 2 of those, you can make a pair of earrings. So you can really make your clay go quite a long way. I'll quickly go back onto the hand drill.
Oh yeah, we haven't really looked at that. You've mentioned it.
I mentioned it, yeah, because it's such a great tool. It's like, you know, the one. So now it comes. So you've got all the different filing tools. So once we've used the wet clay, so once the clay is wet, obviously you let it dry and then you file it. So the way this works...
It comes with all these attachments.
Yes, because some people go, how do I turn it on? No, you don't turn it on. It's manual labour. So, and then you literally close that collet and you see you've got some lovely diamond files that will just last a lifetime. You never need to replace this again. You know, you can also use it to sand inside of holes. So you've got the 4 different settings. And later on, what this one is for, anyone who knows the Bead Reamer, is you can drill into your dry clay and you can do a dry stone setting with your gemstones. So so versatile. And then inside here, stop them getting lost.
This is great, it's all in there.
This is all rolling down, are the little drill bits. Right. So we talked earlier about the 10% shrinkage. So you've got the big one for your pendants, and then you've got smaller ones here for your earrings.
So knowing that you're making that hole when it's wet, but it's going to dry.
Yep, your hole's going to shrink too.
As well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's very, very simple. Again, I'll just show quickly with the piece. We might have time to fire. So put it in here. You take your dried piece and you can mark it up with pencil. As I said earlier, it will just burn off. And then you literally just put it on there. And it's no pressure. As you can see, the clay just makes its own hole and you're through it already. That's how quick it is.
And that's dried clay. So you've moulded it, you've shaped it, you've put your whatever texture you want on it. In this case, maybe not, but you could have done. And then it's ready to be burned, ready to be fired, but you're putting that hole in.
And the nice thing about it is if you've got the hole here, is that you can move the hole towards the inside. So you want your hole to be about sort of 1 to 2 mil from the edge, not too close. But it just makes a really nice, neat hole. Rather than trying to use a toothpick, you're always going to get that displacement of the clay. It's nice, you get a nice, clean hole. So here we go. So you can make it bigger if you wanted to, but Right, did you want me to fire this quickly?
Yeah, go on then, Helen. Yeah,
I know.
just in case if anyone has, I mean, I guess if we've got time. Yeah, we have. We've got about 9 or so minutes. But yeah, if you missed it at the beginning, we started off by firing. So if you're just tuning in now, it's nice that we can sort of bookend the day, or bookend the show rather. If I move it this way, Helen, just
you can get it on the
there.
camera.
Just there for no apparent reason. Just
it's like this. No matter what craft you do, everybody has the same. You never have enough space, do you? Really, you always run out of space.
And by the way, you get the heat-resistant brick and the butane torch. You'll fill that at home yourself with your butane. It's quite easy.
Yes, it's very easy. So I'll just quickly show you. So the normal gas. It comes with all these special attachments in the lid. Forget about those. Just use the one that it comes with the can, and then you literally turn it upside down. There's a hole in the base. I tend to keep my base on. I don't know, I have a funny thing about having the base on. And then you literally just press it down into it, and you can hear the gas going into it, and you'll also feel the base of the torch getting cold. So it's very, very simple, and that's it.
And then the rest of that liquid just evaporates.
Yes, I know. I didn't know. You know, when you don't smoke, you're not used to using lighter fuel gas.
No,
so,
I guess
so it's like,
not,
where do you buy it? You know.
Yeah,
so,
but it's very easy.
Yeah, it's a hardware shop or a cigarette counter. But
what's the other one as well? Those pound shops as well.
Supermarket sort of thing. But it depends. Some parts of the country it's quite hard to get hold of now. So yes. So we just need to time it for 2 minutes, but I'll just quickly talk you through the process. If we can just turn the lights down a little. Yeah. Now, obviously, I know this is completely dry. Very, very important that your piece is dry. If there's pockets of water in it, your piece will explode, which is not really good. So there used to be the mirror test that you could put the old types of silver clay onto it and you can see the condensation. That doesn't work anymore. Right. This is special moisture retaining clay, so it will still be wet in the middle. So leave it for a few days on a warm radiator. Now this is the first part of the process. As you can see, that's the binder burning off, and that's why I said earlier, don't do big leaves because you've got the leaf burning off and the binder. Now you're getting to the next point where all the dirt's burning off, all that badger balm, all those sort of things are burning off. And then the next stage is going to be, I don't know if you can see the sides, if I gently move this.
Don't worry if we're
you
not.
can see the sides. It will actually start to curl. So this is where it starts to shrink. And if your piece is curled, and you say, oh, it's curled, it's because you haven't started the firing process. So only now, when it gets that pale orange glow,
you can see that now.
This is where you start your timer. This is where you start your minimum 2 minutes.
Do you want me to time 2 minutes?
Yeah, you can do 2 minutes. You can do longer. You can do as far here for 2 days if you really want to. And again,
exactly.
Yep, so you can fire as many times as you want. You can fire it as long as you want. The minimum is that you don't. If you go any higher, then you start to melt it. I can do it on another bit. Then you've melted it. So don't let it get to red. You're going for that pale orange glow that you can see here. And all you're doing, I know it probably looks a bit wild, but you're just maintaining that heat. So you're just maintaining the whole of the piece. And that's why we say you want to fire something the size and thickness of a 50p piece. Okay. Because simply anything bigger, you're not going to maintain the heat over it all. Now you can see, I'm not sure if you can see it on, because we've got a head-on shot, it's now flattened out.
Okay.
So.
Would you like to maybe see it from the side view? We've got a side view, Helen, don't worry, don't worry.
Don't worry, these blocks stay cool. I wouldn't be,
So you're moving the block as well, but we've got a side view as well.
You can see it's gone
just
flat.
a time check as well. We're about halfway through your 2 minutes. That's 1 minute and 10 seconds so far. 1 minute and 10 seconds.
And now,
the second lap.
You see, now I actually make things pretty much to actual size because I can't really see the shrinkage. I don't account for that extra 10% shrinkage. If you're firing in a kiln, so anybody who's got a kiln, so if you're making 3-dimensional pieces or using glass or ceramics, you can fire it in a kiln and you can fire with other things as well. So anybody who does porcelain or ceramics or is doing a glaze firing can fire the PMC with it. And I know some people with their glass kilns are saying, oh, I don't want silver clay in my kiln. This does not transfer onto the glass into your kiln, so don't worry about contamination.
Well, yeah. So 5 seconds. 5 seconds here, Helen. 3, 2. Well, our studio audience is getting involved as well. 1, 0. There we go. That's 2 minutes now.
Yeah, so it's 2 minutes.
2 minutes. We can turn our laser off. So it's not a laser, don't worry. It's just a hot gas torch.
A torch. And then here we go. So we've got, this is very hot. Now you can leave it to air cool. I don't, because you know it's like you're going to touch it and you're going to burn your finger.
Yeah, don't do that.
So if you put it into the water, you water, then you've got... And this was the bit that we did on the last show. Anybody that watched the last show, this was the bit where I used the, it was Valentine's confetti. It was our confetti piece.
Okay. Yeah.
So let me just dry it off a bit. Oh, it's jumping around. And then
so
again,
this is now pure. I know it doesn't look silvery.
Yeah, now it's
but it's pure silver.
Yeah, you can. It's really, really hard. Yeah, yeah. So again, if I just brush this up a bit.
It's a nice wire brush. Don't use this on the cat.
No. Yeah, I'm cleaning the
just for
rubber.
jewellery making.
There we go. We'll get this off a bit. Really, just clean your rubber block. And again, the burnisher. So here's a good example.
This is the agate burnisher now.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, you can't leave. You can get a metal burnisher, and often, you know, we have to put them in the starter kits because it's a price point thing. But once you've used an agate burnisher, you never use the metal one again. You know. Or, you know, you can see that difference there on the top, can't you?
Today. I mean, you've got it in your accessories polishing kit, $17.49 plus delivery. So easy. It's 813073 to order now.
And always, you know, burnish the sides. You know what it's like? If somebody says to you, oh, did you make that yourself? You know, the first thing they do is turn it over and have a look, you know. Yeah. And again, it's the sides of the piece, you can see. Yeah. It really does.
So you get your rubber block that we're using also, and that brass brush we got out a minute ago, and the silver polishing cloth too. You get all that in your polishing kit. It must be so satisfying as well, Helen, to be making your personal pieces every time.
It is. Everything is always different, and it's a very nice hobby. Nothing goes off. You know, once you've got the basic tools, as you can see, this rubber block. Gosh, I've probably had this nearly 10 years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You can see it was the one that wasn't quite properly formed when the company started.
Yeah.
But you know, you just use them over and over again. There's nothing really that's disposable. So the only thing, once you've got the base, is the clay, and then you can always come back to it. It doesn't take up a lot of space in your craft cupboard. You can just put it in a box, you know, take it with you.
It's doable, and you know, and I know you say you made quite a big point about never being able to sell anything that you've made, but if you look at your costs of what you're buying today to get started up, you factor in all the fun of being able to create things. Imagine putting a post on one of these sites, wherever, saying, I will make you a personalised charm for a wedding day or a brand new baby or something.
It is always different.
People are always looking for gifts like that, thinking, you know, what am I going to buy them? You know, what am I going to get?
For the person who's got everything, it's ideal and it's personal. And to prove that, you know, OK, some of these pieces here today are probably a bit more complicated, but the necklace that I'm wearing today is actually one of the very, very first things I made 20 years ago. I wouldn't say I have a close-up of it, but it just shows...
We've got a close-up. We've got the close-up you always wanted there.
Something really simple.
It's lovely. It's
and you know, you still have it, you know.
This is really cool as well. We've only got a few seconds, unfortunately, but, you know, we'll try and get you your kit to you as soon as we can and get enjoying. Helen, thank you so much. Thank you for
having me. Yes.